finish explaining, and I'll explain this. Okay, so our stream is going. All right. Let me put up a quick disclosure. Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the ECB refi rate. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director of 10-minute trades. Please remember all the trades we take and discuss are for educational purposes. It's possible to lose money trading futures, so trade carefully. So we're talking about setting up a reversal trade as a second possible trade on the 745 bank rate for the ECB. The European Central Bank is what the ECB stands for. So to set up a reversal trade, you just right-click, click on strategies, put the strategy on the chart like we always do, and then scroll down to trade type. And this is a possible second trade. Trade type is a reversal trade. All you need for a reversal trade, I like to label it because I need to know which of my strategies are which. So all you need is a position, a stop, and a target. That's it. You need nothing else because it's a discretionary trade. And you can do a reversal any time of the day. And that's why our software is an ATM. I'm using my software as an ATM just by setting up the trade. I'm choosing how many contracts I'm going to trade. 1. I'm choosing how many targets and what my targets are going to be. Okay, I've got one position, one target for 15 ticks, and a stop for 18 ticks. That's all I need to do for a reversal. I've chosen reversal trade, and I'm going to put it on live. If I feel like I have a possibility of taking a reversal, I'll try and do it. So my charts need to be live. Okay, now I need to change my account because these are not family money trades. These are our regular account trades. So all that means is we just trade it in our regular account. We have 2 accounts, one for family money trades and one for our regular trades. So now I'll just double check my account because when you change connections, it doesn't always move the account. So you just always make sure you double check. See, the account is blank. I want to put on the account I'm trading, reapply it, and now I'll be able to put my trade on. When you change connections, if you change a connection in midstream, make sure your trade is still set up properly. 1 position, 15 tick target, 18 tick stop. That's all I'm setting up. That's all I need. All right, so what's my strategy? Possible strategy. It's a little bit tricky for the reversal. So watch what happens when you click on a reversal. You get 2 buttons, long and short. That means you can get into the trade long. You can get into the trade short. Okay. You can get into the trade short or long if there's a move. So the strategy, the plan would be, if it gets to R1, I think R1's a little bit too close, so I don't think there's a really good strategy on the upside. If it moves so much that it gets to R2, my strategy would have to be, that would be where I would take a reversal. I probably would not consider it in this area here because it's too close. On the downside, if price got to the PP, it needs to break the low and not break the PP. It's a little bit tricky on the reversal, but I would be looking more if price got closer to the PP rather than just sat on the low. So strategy might be reverse up towards R2, reverse down by PP. So you'd be buying in this area, selling in this area, but only if you get fairly quick moves to those areas, not dribbles, all right? And then the only other thing we can do is let's look at the daily report. This has not been a well-behaved trade, but we could trade one contract. Because if we get a burst, it might, it might be a good trade. So it's a bracket of 10. Bracket of 10. So that should filter out some of the noise. And then I would just trade one contract. But to make it worth it, let's go for a target of like 29 ticks. Okay. Up is 15 ticks. The euro is $6.25 a tick. Now I'm listening to Financial Juice in my headset. The forecast by the ECB is no change to any of their rates. They have a bank rate and a deposit rate. Okay, those are the two important rates that they have, the interest rate and the deposit rate. So I've got my news off to the side, and the reason I have it off to the side is so we can have room on the charts. So we've got a bracket of 10, a target of 29, okay? And if you were trading two contracts, targets of 10 and 25, okay? So 29 is not that bad. There can be shocks to the market with the central banks and inflation. It's possible. There can be some shocks to the market here. So we've got a stop of 15, and then our entry time is 7:45. This is a standard breakout. 7:45.00. Now you cannot take the reversal trade until this trade is over. So your main focus is the breakout, not the reversal. Okay? Not the reversal. So this is the breakout trade. Just checking my setup one more time. Bracket of 10. I've got one position for 29 ticks. Stop of 15. It's a breakout trade. That's my setup. It's a 45-second cancel also. 45-second cancel. Will I wait that long? I'm not sure if I will. Let's check our time sync. By going to the website time.is, and it puts my computer in sync. So I'm trying to keep possible targets on the screen. Now we're up a couple of dollars from last night's Australia jobs report. So if there's a pop or a drop like there was with the British report, then we could have a good outcome on the euro. Okay, we're trading the euro on this report because it's a European Central Bank news event. So it makes total sense to trade the euro. There's something else I wanted to tell you. I don't remember what it was now. All right, so we'll watch. Oh, I know what it was. So don't forget, today we have a webinar scheduled with our friends in Rightline. And the webinar today, I hope it's at 4 p.m. That's what I thought it was. And here's the registration link. www.fmt2021.com. Okay. www.fmt2021.com. So we'll be having a webinar today at 4 p.m. and then tomorrow we have our master class. So some interesting news. Russia's banning cryptocurrency investing. Springsteen sold his publishing, all his songs, for $500 million. Is that beyond belief? Bruce Springsteen. So when artists get old and they're thinking probably that they're not going to be able to tour very much longer, and especially with the virus, possibly shutting down music or limiting the amount of touring they can do, some of the big musicians are lucky enough that they have a catalog that they can sell. The regular touring musicians are broke. It's pretty incredible. The regular people can't make a living because there's a lot of the small venues are closed or not, or they're afraid to open, or people aren't coming. But Springsteen, people like that, you know, the Paul Simons, the Bruce Springsteens, he just sold his catalog for $500 million, $500 million. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Now, I'm not a Springsteen lunatic. I like him. I mean, I think Jungle Land is maybe one of the greatest songs ever written. But he falls into my theory of musicians, songwriters. Most songwriters have very early success when they're young, and then they can never recreate it. And there are exceptions, like Paul McCartney is an exception. But Bruce Springsteen is not an exception. He hasn't written a great song in probably 20 years. Great compared to Jungle Land or Kitty's Back or Born to Run. Now, Springsteen fans will argue with me, but even you take someone like Paul Simon, you look at his early time period, he hasn't had a great song in 20 years, probably also. But it's a theory that I have about writers. If for some reason something happens, you can't create at the same level when you're young as when you're old. Are they closing some Broadway shows? I don't know if the world is panicking. I mean, it seems clear that we're dealing with transmission that's high. I just don't know anymore what is the right thing to do. Let's watch this report. So see if we get some movement in one direction to start. Possible reversal maybe on the right. It's going to have to be real obvious because I haven't taken reversal trades in a long time. Now my plan with one contract would be if we get a burst in one direction rather than a whipsaw, then I'll try to trail my stop. That would be my goal. I'll try to trail my stop if I have the opportunity. And then what we'll do is we'll stay in the room for the 8:30 event. So we'll have a 10 bracket. Usually the central bank news is on time. It's usually not late. It's not on time. Isn't that crazy? No change. So not much of a reaction. I'm going to cancel the trade. It's not bursting like England did, okay? So I don't like when a central bank, you're getting no burst whatsoever. Now it may dribble. See, what you're getting is a dribble right now. The news is out. The market knows what it is. Not a big enough response. So you're not going to have a trade on either end here. I'll tell you why. So you don't have a big enough move. It's just dribbling. So look, maybe I goofed by getting out because it's going in one direction. It's going in one direction. So let's see if it pulls back from here, if it keeps heading. It's not a big enough move to take a reversal, okay? And it's also not a fast enough move to take a reversal. It might reverse, like it's reversing some ticks here, but the idea of a reversal is when you get a burst and it creates a candle close to an area, preferably of support or resistance, okay? But here you have pretty much meaningless news that really for a central bank didn't create that large of a move. Now the breakout would have worked because it would have filled you long, would have filled you long. It never got anywhere near the stop. We're nowhere near the stop, okay? But the reason you don't have a reversal is you just didn't have a move that burst. So yeah, some people might take a reversal here, but you probably won't get a lot of ticks because there wasn't a big enough move to reverse from. You follow me? You have to have a move to reverse from. To give you an example, I'm turning off my trade because I'm not going to take it. It's just there's nothing there. Let me show you the English burst because they had a surprise rate hike. Surprise rate hike. Look at the way a market bursts. Now, ironically, this is too big of a burst. It might have worked, but you have to have rules. And the rule is if the burst is so out of proportion, then there's a possibility that it's not even going to reverse. So look at that. That's too big of a burst. It chopped a lot. That was a tremendous long trade, but I was playing the reversal. And I did not take it. You could have taken it at R2. And a reversal is the hardest trade to decide if you should take because you only have a second most of the time to get in. R2, which wasn't in my plan because I never dreamed there would be a surprise rate hike and a burst 2.5 times more than I thought it would burst. So I didn't take a trade. Now here you've just got dribbling in price. dribbling to the upside, it would have been okay on the breakout. It would have worked. It would have worked. I thought because there was absolutely no reaction, that it was going to be a little bit, it was just not going to be much of a reaction. So we're going to keep the room open. Keeping the room open, there's another event. Let me set up my charts for the next event. This is the most difficult trading morning that I think I've ever seen. I'll explain why. Before I forget, just a reminder, come to our webinar today, 4 p.m., www. FMT.com. Okay. 4 p.m. webinar today with our friends Rightline. Okay. All right, folks, I'm going to take 5. Look at that. Look at that. Now you have a move. So, you know, of course you want to, you have to deal with the frustration of not taking the trade, right? Thinking there was going to be no move, having a pretty delayed move. And you could have just sat, right? You could have just sat in the trade. Too bad, but it is what it is. So I'll tell you why I think this is one of the most difficult mornings, very difficult mornings to trade. It's pretty hard. I'll put up the news event that's coming up next. Let me just render my video. The German reports had no response because I believe they were waiting. German and France, minimal, not much of a trade at all, because they were probably waiting for their central bank news. So there were no trades there, nothing at all. I'm going to take 5 minutes, heat my coffee, and then we'll come back. Not even, probably won't even take 5 minutes, probably 3. And then we'll talk about the next setup and the issues surrounding it. All right. I'll be back at, let's say, 7:55. I'll be right back. All right, folks, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Tommy, can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Anybody, somebody. Calvin. Calvin, I know you're out there. All right. So, Calvin, you got my, you heard what I said, right? The German report and the French report, no movement, no trade. All right. So, what's next? What's next? So, here's the issue. Building permits it started to become a family money trade when it trades by itself. It can't be a family money trade when we have no way to test how it's doing with Thursday jobless claims and Philly Fed. All right. Philly Fed is tradable by itself. Thursday jobless claims is tradable by itself. Building permits is tradable by itself. Okay. So I think that the only way to trade this 8:30 event is as an after the news trade. I just don't see any other possibility for this particular setup. If you do it as a breakout, then it is a random coin toss. And no one says you can't do it. I'm not saying you can't, you're not allowed to do it. But just realize that it's a random coin toss. My boss, who prepares the DMMs, didn't even create a normal DMM for today on this event because it's an abnormal event. Okay. Now, no more press conference trade. The trend is no longer reliable. Okay. No more press conference trade. That's why it was not on the daily schedule today. All right. Now, I still have a DMM for it if we wanted to watch it today to see how it goes, but I think it's more important to watch the 8:30 news and see if we can get an after the news possible trade. Okay. So here's the DMM that was created, unemployment claims +3. Unemployment claims +3. What does that mean? So let's look at the news. I'll show you what it means. It means that we have too much news, right? So you've got unemployment claims. It really should be unemployment claims +2. All right. It's unemployment claims +2. You've got Thursday claims, building permits, and Philly Fed. That's unemployment +2. All right. It's a random. What we've discovered is that I'm bringing back the Thursday unemployment trade when it trades by itself. It's not a money trade, but it's a reasonably good trade to take. But today it's not trading by itself. What we've discovered is when Thursday claims trades with a lot of different reports or a group of different reports, it's not as reliable as a breakout trade. So today you've got the unreliable scenario. So why is that the case though? Why is that true? Why is it not so reliable? What happens is the news doesn't always get released together. So you have multiple reports. You wind up filled and in the market on a trade, and then another news report comes out and it throws off your current position. Then another news report comes out a couple of seconds later and it throws off that position. So that's why you get sometimes inconsistent reaction from a report or a group of reports. Okay. So that's why today it's not for me to make a choice of trading it as a breakout, because my testing has shown There's just been too many multi-report Thursdays with jobless claims that don't work as of late. And that's one of the reasons we stopped trading the Thursday claims. Then we did some more serious analysis and realized that it was working better when it traded alone. When Thursday claims were by themselves, they were worth taking a trade. Okay, so that's the scenario on Thursday claims and other reports at the same time. So look, I'm sure there's people out there that want to just take the regular breakout, even though I call it a coin toss, and you're more than welcome to do it. It's a gold trade with a bracket of 8. It's not a trade that I'm taking. All right, it's just not the right setup for me. I think the risk is not worth the trade. So what I think is a possibility, because it does work at times at 8:30, is our after news trade. And there are multiple ways that you can enter the after news trade. Fred's entry is the most complicated. It's tricky to enter, waiting for moving averages, etc. But it does work for him. But he practices, and I need practice on entering his exact way. It's hard. It's hard. We'll practice that on natural gas. If I take a trade today on after news, I may do it with my rules. Okay, my rules are a little bit different. I'm rebooting my platform because I've been here for multiple trades, and I like to just let my platform start over because I can't reboot my computer, which I normally would do. So I'm going to be looking possibly at gold. I'm not even going to look at the breakout trade. I have no interest in the breakout trade. Okay. And then building permits, housing. What I want to do is, just because of curiosity, if building permits and housing was by itself today, right? If it were by itself, is that the correct English? If it was, or if it were? I think it's if it were, he was, it was, if it was by itself, what would the DMM look like? Let me show you. Give me a second. So that was November 17th. So if building permits was by itself, it would have a smaller bracket than you have today because of all the extra reports. Now, look how reliable it's been. It's been nice and reliable, but it's not trading by itself, all right? It's not trading by itself. So any trade that you take at 8:30 as a breakout has potential to be a little bit challenged because the way the news is coming out, all right, and the amount of news. There's a little bit large amount of news. So I'm going to look at two different types of charts. I'm going to look at gold on a 30-second chart. And I'm also going to look at micro gold. Now, the goal would be to try to trade in a direction that agrees with the trend of gold. Look at the large trend in gold. It's very large, okay? Now, just for fun, I'm not going to trade it, but I know that a lot of people love the NQ on 8:30 news. So I'm going to watch the NQ. On 8:30 news. I don't like my squeeze on this chart. I want to get rid of it. You know what? I'm not going to do it now. I don't want to interfere with everything. Let's leave it. So we're going to look at the NQ on a 30-second chart. Not for a breakout, but see what the NQ, just for your own knowledge, see what it looks like. See if you get a good reversal signal after the news, a good entry signal after the news. Make sure that your squeeze length on the indicator is set to 17. Squeeze length, momentum length, not squeeze length, sorry. Momentum length is 17. Momentum length is 17. Okay. My concentration is going to be on the gold side, momentum length on the indicator. Whoops. On the indicator. Is 17. Okay, and I never booted the strategy, the chart. Let me put my charts in sim. I said I was going to reboot my strategy. My platform, I mean. So here's a thought now, okay? Now Ninja has a big sale going. You have 2 days left to upgrade to a lifetime license, okay? So if you're a Ninja trader user, you can get off the rental and upgrade and save some money on lifetime license, or you can upgrade your license to a multi-broker. It's a good sale if you're a Ninja trader user. So what I'm looking at, one of the issues is you have a very big trend in gold. So Mark, you do a lot of these trades after news. Are you willing to take a short on gold? You're not. So I kind of agree with you. It's such a large trend. Gold is up over 200 ticks today. So the news is important. The perfect setup would be if the news is negative, because that would tend to push gold to the upside. That would tend to push gold to the upside. But the ultimate issue is now I think that gold is going to test the high of the day here. It's hard to see that color. Let me fix the color. Gold's going to test the high of the day, I believe, before maybe at the gold open, which is coming up at 820. It's still hard to see. Let me get a good color here. Forgive me, hang on. Let me get a nice dark green. That should do it. That's the high of the day. I think it's a magnet to gold, and it's going to pull gold into it at some point. At some point. Now, gold is really trending upward. It's probably trending upward since this morning's central bank decisions is what I'm thinking. If we go back, well, so initially at 7 o'clock, the British, the Bank of England, had an emergency rate hike. That sent gold down. given that gold's had a very large upward trend though, but it still had a pretty big move down, and then it started recovering a half hour after that news. And now you can see it's still recovering. Okay. Gold is going to test this high of the day. You know how sure I am about this? I don't know if I have time to do this. It's not my account. So, well, I'm just going to show you. I'm not going to use real money because I don't have a trade set up. I'm just trading one contract on MGC, and I would sell it right at the high of the day before the news report. That's my expectation. And then we want to have a stop. So let's put a stop in. We want to sell below here, right? So we'll put a stop somewhere. You have a pretty big candle right here. Let's see, below. You don't have good support anywhere, really. So 87, 80, 10 tick. I'd go about 13, 14 ticks. I believe what's going to happen here is we're going to get a test of these levels. Now I'm going to set up a squeeze play. That's micro gold. I'm going to set up a squeeze play. Yeah, 1788.90 might be a little better because you don't have to burst. You're right at the pivot there, right at the pivot. I think it'll still get to the high. I think it's going to get to the high. It's almost there on regular gold. That's almost a valid test, right? That's almost considered a valid test. It got so close. It's only a couple of ticks away. So setting up an after news trade, we do that with the squeeze play. It's going to test it right now. So we'll watch it on micro if it gets up there. Now look, you've got a pretty good profit on micro gold. In regular gold, that's about $100. It's $1 versus $10 a tick. The micro, it's a micro. It's called a micro for a reason. It's less per tick, right? So you don't want to lose money. So handle any trade. Bingo. So now you close out your stop, right? Close out your stop. And it tested the high. I call that a magnet trade. All right, that's a magnet trade. You have a giant trend in gold. You have a high that hasn't been tested in a while. If it had just been tested, I would not have taken that trade. Okay, I would not have taken that trade. Now, maybe if you were up early, you might have had a reason to get in much earlier, you know? Now, a discretionary trader that trades the squeeze, you have all these moving averages exploding to the upside, right? Maybe somebody would have traded and got in earlier. But I just wanted to show you that trade. Thought it was pretty interesting. That's a very common event. We see that happen quite a bit. So I'm just I got to get into the right account. I'm just resetting my SIM account. Let me get in the right account. Once again, we're not on family money trading this morning. So again, we've got a large trend in gold we have a news report coming out, but you may not want to take a short on gold because the trend is so powerful, okay? The trend is so powerful. So one of the best things that could happen would be, the news would be good news. It pushes gold down a little bit, and then you wait for the trend to return back to the upside. And that would be your after the news trade to the upside, okay? That might be how you do this. Now, look, I'm a pretty honest person. I have been practicing. This is new to us, so been practicing these after the news trades. I'm willing to do it, but I don't want to risk my boss's money, risk hundreds of dollars when I'm dealing with a new setup for me. So just like if I were teaching you, I would say practice. If you're going to practice live, practice on the micro so that the decision you make doesn't cost you hundreds of dollars and you don't blow out your account, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch regular gold on the right, but I'm going to trade it and practice it, trade my setup with micro so that if I'm wrong or I don't enter properly, I'll just lose $20 or $25. I don't want to lose hundreds because it's a new setup to me. All right, so we're going to set up a squeeze play. And I'm leaning towards my setup, and then we'll do Fred's setup on natural gas. I'll explain how my setup differs. So I'm setting up a squeeze play. And I'm going to set it up on live charts, all right? And I'm going to set up one target of 8 ticks and one target of, let's say, 15 ticks. 115 ticks, and let's say we'll use a stop of 15 ticks. Now remember, on the squeeze play, you don't need time, but you do need to set up the way you're going to create a range. So I'm going to create a range. After the news, I'm going to use a look back, a bar look back of 2, and I'm going to use a tick above and below the range. Okay, just like our normal after the news setup. Okay, so I've got one target for 8 ticks, one target for 15 ticks, a stop for 15, and then one click bar look back. I'm using 2. 2 bars is how I'm creating my range, because this is a type of a range trade. And if the price goes 1 tick above the range, it'll pull me in long. If it goes 1 tick below, if I were trading short, which I'm not going to, it would pull me in short. So watch what happens when you enable a squeeze. When I enable a squeeze play, it gives me all those buttons. So let me explain the buttons, all right? Now the gold opening is taking place in 2 minutes, 1 minute. I'm ignoring the 2 buttons on the right, long and short. Those are immediate entries into the market, long or short. And I'm not doing that. I'm using my software as an ATM. I'm setting up an ATM squeeze play, okay? And the definition of that is I have a range long and a 1-click range short. I'm not using the button on the left because that would enter long or short in one setup. That's either direction. Today, I know I'm only willing to go long. So the only button I have to even deal with is the 1-click range long. That's the only button I have to worry about. I'm not entering immediately in the market. I'm entering if my range gets broken. It's going to look at 2 bars. Okay. It's going to look at 2 bars and it's going to put my orders on above and below the range. Okay. That's what it should do anyway. So we've got 10 minutes. Let's test it. Let's look at it in sim. Make sure I have it set up right. So I'm just putting my charts in sim so we can see what happens. So when I enable it, so I know I'm only willing to go long, all right? So one thing I didn't do, which I forgot, that's why we're not seeing the range. That's why it's nice to test graphics shown on chart. See, I'm only willing to go long. Creates my range. You follow, folks? It uses 2 bars, the 2 last bars to create the range. And if it goes up, I'll get filled long. That's what I want to happen. Now, if I was doing it on the short side, it could do it on the short side, but I'm not. If I was using the button on the left, it would put the order above and below. I'm only willing to go long, but it's also going to depend on the news. The best possibility of a winning trade would be if the news supports a move to the upside. Okay. We want the news to support a move to the upside. Otherwise, you might not take the trade. You don't have to trade just because you're here. Okay. I say that 1,000 times over and over. Don't take a trade just because. Take a trade when it fits your rules and your plan setup, right? I stress that all the time. Now look, you're getting the gold open, which is a tradable event. If you have a system, okay, you got to have a system. The gold open is a tradable event. What's fascinating about the gold open today is that even with a tremendous trend to the upside, the gold open worked to the short side. We have noticed, and we've studied the gold open a lot. Quite a few people I know trade the gold open, and it doesn't matter what the trend is. The gold open is tradable in any direction. That's at least what the way it's been working as of late. Okay, as of late, it's been working that way. Let's go over one more time. I'm going to bug you. Come to my webinar this afternoon, 4 p.m. Free webinar. All right. Holiday webinar, Right Line, our friends. We have a lot of friends doing this. Made a lot of good friends over the years. Other trading companies. It's a lot of fun. So 4 p.m. webinar with Right Line, and the registration link, www.fmt2021.com. All right. If I'm awake, I'll be there giving a webinar. We've been here since 6:40, folks. And the one trade that I knew I should have taken, and I decided I was going to teach the reversal trade, was the Bank of England. They had a surprise rate hike, and it was the greatest breakout of the week. It would have been a great breakout. It was not a good reversal. It wouldn't have been too bad a reversal, but it broke the risk rules for a reversal because it went too far on the breakout. All right, so we're looking, what I'm looking for now, and I'm going to show that, I want to show the news because we're going to use the news to help us in our decision making. So yes, we're trying to watch the NQ because I know a lot of people like to trade the NQ, but we need to watch the news more importantly, so I will. So what we're looking for, there's too much news today. There's 3 major reports. That's why I don't trade the breakout, okay? Some people might be trading the breakout, but I believe there's too much news to trade the breakout. It becomes a coin toss when you do that. You don't know how everything's going to react together because they don't usually trade that way. Building permits is better when it trades by itself, as is Thursday claims, okay? So I'm going to look, I'm willing to take a long on gold, and I'm trading micro gold. I'm willing to take a long if the bulk of the news results are negative, okay? Because that generally would push gold into the upward direction. Or if gold, what we want to see happen is for gold to pull down on the news and then give us a signal on the squeeze that it's going back up. Because there's a very large gold trend today. No, Steve, my MGC hit the target. It hit the target. It tested the high. It tested the high. You mean the trade from before? From like half an hour ago? We haven't traded 830 yet, obviously, but I was testing the high with MGC. It worked. That we haven't traded yet. I'm waiting. We're waiting for 830. It's just drawing the range. All it's doing is drawing the range. I'm willing to go long. Now, look, I'm not trading the pop, okay? And I'm not trading the news at the exact moment of the news. I'm going to wait. I may not wait as long as 3 minutes, but I'm going to wait a little bit of time. What I'd like to see happen to make my setup tradable, I'd prefer to see gold pull down, and then on a reversal, I might be interested in taking the long for continuation of the trend today. Okay. Now it retraced due to the gold open, but news changes direction of markets. So that's a whole different animal. What happened here? We're dealing with news, not the gold open. All right. The gold open was down. That's what drove the price down. So we'll see. We'll see if there's a trade. If I see that there's a trade, it's all what I'm able to see. If I'm not able to see anything, am I going to go crying in the corner? No. Nope. We'll move on to our next event. It's just no big deal. If I miss every single trade this morning and look like a dunce, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do. Nothing. So thanks if you're watching on YouTube out there. The webinar link was www.fmt, Family Money Trades, fmt2021.com. www.fmt2021.com for the webinar today, 4 p.m. Okay, let's watch the news result. Probably give it little bit of time after the news to see if gold is interested in restarting its trend back up. But if it just is a continuation trade from here and just keeps going up, not sure that I'll have a trade. It might have a reversal trade, but today's not a great day to take a gold reversal trade because the trend is so strong to the upside. Doesn't mean it can't work. Let's watch the news. Choppy. Oh, that would be really hard to trade. That would have been a stop out, right? That would not have been a good trade on gold. Whew. That would have been very tough. So the news should have pushed gold to the downside. If you go on the building permits, Philly Fed is quite negative. That might push gold up. This is very difficult because we didn't get it pulled down. You didn't get it pulled down. So for me, it doesn't really fit the criteria of a trade. It doesn't fit my criteria, I'm afraid. Let's wait a minute. You got to wait. It's only a minute. Okay. Let's see what gold does. Let's see what it does. We can wait a couple of minutes. So the housing numbers were good. The jobless numbers were a tiny bit negative, not horrible. Philly Fed, pretty negative. Philly Fed is pretty negative. So I'm waiting. So now maybe there will be a little bit of a trend in gold down. To me, when you get a whipsaw reaction like that, up, down, that's an unusual reaction for one. And it generally makes me not want to take a trade. Okay, because it tells me that the index doesn't know which direction it's going. We've really had no movement from the news. Do you follow? The price is pretty much where it was for the news at the time of the news. I don't have a trade, folks. I don't have a trade here. Right, Mark, do you agree? I don't have a trade here. I don't have a trade here. Oh, you're also looking at the which open, Mark. Which open are you looking at? Your rule. No, what time? I mean, what time? Do you mean 8:20 open, or what time are you using for the open? 8:20. Yeah, so Mark trades a lot of gold at 8:20. The price is just not that different from the candles at the open, from the opening candles. I don't have a trade here, folks. It's already 3 minutes. There's just no movement. It's not like a jobs report. We didn't get a move like a jobs report or CPI. There's just no trade. I'm sorry. It is what it is. I don't have a trade. I can't manufacture a trade. There's no move. There was no move. It was just a whipsaw up and down. And now gold is pretty much, it might pull back a little bit, but it's too long ago already now for me. Now we can watch. For me, the news was not a large enough move to give me an after the news trade. Does everybody get that? The news was not a large enough move to give me an after the news trade. That's really not complicated, It's not complicated. So let's look at the schedule. Let me render this video, which had nothing to render really, nothing to show. This is holiday. We're getting into holiday trading now. We're only 10 days from Christmas, not even. So we have to really pick carefully what we trade because we don't want to lose money for no reason. Okay? So what's our next event? What's our next event? I'm taking off my trade. I don't have a trade here. Even if it goes down, it's not a news move anymore. All right? 4 minutes after the news, gold made its decision that it was not really going to do much for the news. So we have to think about our next event. Yeah, Albert, that was an impossible trade to take with that movement up and down. There's no way you could have made money on that, right? Not a chance. But at least you did it in sim. That's why sometimes, even though we got up early here, I haven't traded yet. I tried, but I don't care that I got up early. I didn't lose money yet, but we learned a lot. It's okay. So let's see what our next event is. There's still a bunch of weird events coming up, folks. I got to tell you that, we'll probably heat the coffee again, take a 10, 15-minute break. I'll keep the room open. Chantal, you could shut down YouTube. Thanks, everybody, for watching on YouTube. There was nothing very exciting this morning, unfortunately. We'd love if you join our channel and give us a like, and we'll see you next week for the next stream. So thanks very much for watching us on YouTube. We appreciate it.